All right, I think I'm going to go ahead and get us started. So I'll say good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kimberly Glowacki. I'm the Director of Client Experience for IP Consulting, and I'm going to be your hostess and your moderator today. So thank you all for carving out the time on a Tuesday afternoon to talk about the clear path to AI, secure AI. I know that AI seems to be everyone's favorite buzzword, and so often that conversation, at least for me, seems to be either really high level and not applicable to what I'm doing, or way too technical. So I'm really looking forward to the conversation today. I do have a little bit of housekeeping notes before we dive in. We're expecting this session to take about 60 minutes total. And over on the right panel, you'll see that there's a little speech bubble down to the bottom, but this is going to be an option for chat. Feel free to drop any questions that you might have at any time. I'll grab those questions along the way and integrate them into a panel session that we'll have at the end. All right, I am proud to introduce the three other people that you should see in front of you for our speakers today. Everyone here that you see is committed to helping you see what's possible. So I've already warned them all. I might interrupt them throughout the way, so they're aware of that, and they promise not to hold it against me. So if something comes up and I see a good opportunity to wedge it in there, I will. Otherwise, I'll save it for that panel session at the end. We want to make sure that we're keeping this session practical and usable, and that we're building up your AI knowledge. So with that, I'll go ahead and introduce the speakers. Today, joining me, I have Milton Moore. He's the CEO of IP Consulting. We also have JP Kehoe, and he leads up the global sales for Hatz AI, and we'll talk a little bit more about those relationships here in a minute. And then Joe Rende, he's going to be joining us and doing the demo for us a little bit later. So good morning, gentlemen, or good afternoon, I should say.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having us.
All right, let's go ahead, and I'm not going to read you guys the agenda, but let's take a look at what our game plan is. So Milton and JP, I'm going to ask you guys to get us started by sharing what's going on in the industry and really why that matters. And after that, I think what we're going to do is we're going to turn that microphone over to Joe to have him do that live demo of the actual platform and some of the cool things that are in there. That's really where, Joe, I'm sorry, I'm probably going to be doing the most interrupting, so I want to make sure that we show all the cool things, all the things I love using. And then we're going to wrap it up with that panel discussion. So I've got some questions. I'm going to be collecting questions from our audience as we go along. So before that, though, gentlemen, can I ask you to just share a little bit about the relationship between IP Consulting and Hatz? And Milton, I'm going to give you the floor first.
Thank you, Kim. I am really proud that IP Consulting is celebrating 20 years in business. We've spent that time helping organizations manage IT, cybersecurity, and compliance. That's our DNA. We've been working with AI for a while now, and what we bring to market today fits right in with what we've always done, technology with a focus on security and governance. We partnered with Hatz AI because their platform is a perfect match for what we do. JP, tell everyone about Hatz AI.
Well, thanks, Milton. And Milton and Kim, thank you for having Joe and I here today. It's a real pleasure. And we've been very fortunate to build a really great, strong partnership with IP Consulting. I guess where we come in, we're a service that helps IP Consulting power secure AI for those that are listening in, those on the call. As you run your business, one of the concerns might be to, how do you help your employees use AI in a secure way? So ultimately, and we'll get to it in a moment, we curate all of these tools and models in a secure platform, and IP Consulting can provision that to your employees. We were born from a cybersecurity business, and I guess like IP Consulting, security is in our DNA. So we help provision that service. But also, I think, and we'll get to it later, Milton, one of the key problems that every business owner has, it's not just securing, AI for their employees, but it's really, really how do you practically help them use it? So for anybody on this call, if you're, running a company and you got 20 employees, how do you make sure that you're giving them the ability to leverage AI? How do you help them use it every day as a co-intelligence and drive ROI? And that's exactly where IP Consulting can help with a platform like Hatz.
Thanks, JP, and thanks, Milton. Milton, I'm going to swing it back over to you. I'd like you to take us through the current AI landscape, and I know you're going to hit really hard on the security part of it, so excited for you to share those statistics.
Thank you, Kim. 3 out of 4 companies are currently using AI, and almost nobody's managing it. I want to let that sink in for a second. The average cost of a data breach is $250,000. For a lot of organizations, that's not a budget line, that's a crisis. Those are the kinds of issues that many don't recover from. The term shadow AI was recently coined to explain this. It's just a fancy way of saying your team is using AI tools without IT knowing about it. The real world example of that is someone summarizing a contract or running analysis on financial data, reviewing patient or HR records, writing a proposal using internal documents. Every one of those examples means your data has left the building. These aren't rogue employees. These are your best people trying to be more productive. They just don't have a safe way to do it yet. So why is this happening? Free AI tools are everywhere, and they're impossible to avoid. More importantly, they're really good at getting things done. Unfortunately, IT isn't always part of that conversation. The real issue isn't that your people are using AI, it's that nobody's given them a safe way to do it. Not having guardrails in place for AI can affect your organization in 3 ways. Compliance, what regulations should you be following, and would your cyber insurance claim be denied if something went wrong? Financially, we've already talked about the breach cost, that number's real. And operationally, if you have no visibility into how AI is being used and no policies in place, there's no accountability. This isn't a what if. Let me show you what happened to one company. In 2023, 3 Samsung engineers were just trying to get some work done. They used a public AI tool, and in the process, they uploaded proprietary source code and confidential meeting notes. The moment they hit enter, that data was gone. No controls, no audit trail. Samsung had no idea it even happened. And their response? They banned public AI tools completely, but the damage was already done. Your team could be doing the same exact thing and you wouldn't even know it. So enough about what keeps me up at night. Let's talk about what gets me excited. What sold me on this platform is that you get 67 of the most popular AI models, all in one place. You don't have to pay for separate subscriptions. We were paying for Copilot, ChatGPT Enterprise, and a few others for specific use cases. That was pretty expensive. The platform comes with no-code automation and an agent workspace where you can build AI agents from a simple drag-and-drop interface. It gives you full visibility and reporting on how your team is actually using AI. Lastly, what good is a tool if nobody knows how to use it? Hatz includes a built-in training platform and a path for certifying your users. Let's take a look. Joe, can you show them how it looks like?
Before we get to Joe, I'd like to get over to JP. I know that JP's got some information about how that integrates with our tech, and so I'd like to turn it over to you. You're muted, JP. If you look down, down in the center there.
You know, how long are we doing this?
I know technology gets the best of us sometimes. That's okay. Listen, it wouldn't be a demo if we didn't have one mistake.
Yeah. Well, I'll take that mistake. But no, I was tracking what Milton was saying. It was really interesting, and it flows nicely. Obviously, the security piece we spoke about, but I think there's a fundamental shift with when people think about AI. They think about using it at home, and maybe the family are using it, and it's ChatGPT. But there's a shift between that and using it at work. And one of the ways that comes to life is in when we think about integrations. So, Milton did a great job looking across all the different LLMs, and there's more than we care to remember at the moment, and almost 70. I'm sure next week there could be 80, right? So they'll get added all the time. But picking the LLM is just one component. Having it work alongside two things. One is called what are called tools. So gives it a little bit more capability. Could be deep research and searching the web and all of these things. And then also integration. Some of them are listed here, as Kim has up on the screen. A small subset of the ones that are within the platform. And I think those together help people use it at work. And as you think about your organization, what you want to do is leverage everyone's capabilities in your company, not only just to use AI as they might think about it in their day-to-day, but how do they help take that task? So if it's, for example, if you have Salesforce or HubSpot or any of those tools, Notion I see there, and even the Microsoft suite, you want to be able to give your employees the capabilities to use it in those platforms, making sure that they can take that 2-hour task down to 2 minutes. And that's the type of service that IP Consulting can give. And ultimately, if you move to the next slide, please, Kim, ultimately, solving these two problems. So again, if we step back, and I know Joe is going to show you the platform in a moment, but if you take a step back, IP Consulting, we talk about security. You want to turn secure AI on for everybody. And that's the first thing. And that's like, basics really now, and you want to make sure that's resolved. But AI adoption is going to be easier said than done. And for every company, like I said, how do we raise the IQ around AI? And Milton talked about there's some education, and there's also just go and use it. But you want to be able to bring your company to the point where everybody knows how to use it in their day-to-day, to use it at work, being able to integrate it into the tech stack that they have, and be able to monitor it across the organization. So if you go to the next slide, Kim, the way in which we think about the problem and we solve it together with IP Consulting is really very high level in these steps. And we'll talk about it at the end, I'd say, Kim, but you're going to turn on secure AI for everyone in the company, number one. I think number two is a very important piece. IP Consulting then can help you track and monitor at an organizational level. So we're going to see some simple use cases in a moment that Joe will go through, but you're going to want to think about it across all of your organization. Who's using it? Who's your power user? Who needs a little bit more encouragement? Who, having that visibility is, important for your company. It'll help people move on to their AI journey, and you'll begin seeing the power users in your organization, which are now very, very valuable people to help spread the word. And then we talked about education, but there's really use case development and focus on, for example, if somebody in your organization finds a particular use case that's going to be valuable for somebody else, you can share that right across from one individual to another. I know that's a key component of it. So I suppose, Kim and Milton, like they're just some thoughts, and we'll touch on more of it at the end. But maybe
Thanks.
hand back over to you guys.
I appreciate that.
So I appreciate that, gentlemen. Before I hand it over to Joe, though, I think there's a couple of things there worth highlighting, at least in my mind. We talk about, the 67 plus, I'll say plus, different models that you get access to through the platform. It was a week ago, it was at 58. So we know that number continues to grow. So that's very exciting. I think that's important. It's a secure environment. So I know that you guys are going to talk a little bit more about that later, but you don't have to worry about your information getting out. I know we haven't mentioned it yet, but I think there's some information coming up about SOC 2 and SOC 3 compliance. And so want to make sure that we're touching on that. The unlimited users. So it's AI equity. So everyone gets a chance to kind of go along that same journey so that adoption remains key. And then the tools, that's the part that I still reserve my right, Joe, to interrupt you. And so I want to make sure that we're showing them all the tools and how easy they are to apply. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you so you can take over the screen, and let's get into the platform and let's check out all the fun stuff.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kim. I'm sharing over that screen now. Bear with me one second. And it should be coming through now.
All right, Joe, we're seeing it. Thank you.
Excellent. And welcome everyone to the live look at the platform here. Before we go in and click any buttons, I do want to reiterate one thing that Milton covered earlier around shadow AI. Every single business owner I talk to knows their team's already using AI. They're using a free version of GPT, whether it's on their personal phones or on their browsers, right? And if an employee goes in and pastes a client contract or any type of proprietary project plan into a free tool, that data is now out in the wild. It's being used to train the public models. So what you're seeing here on the screen now is Hatz AI. We call it your secure AI operating system. It's going to give your team cutting edge power that they want, but within what you can consider like a corporate vault that's going to be managed by you and your managed services partner in IP consulting. So nothing's going to leave that environment. And most importantly, nothing that you enter into this platform is going to be used to train the public AI models. You get the productivity that you're looking for without the privacy nightmare that could come with it. So here we're going to get started in the chat. This is the chat interface, and this is where most of your team will live, at least in the near term with this platform. This isn't just one AI tool. It is a multi-model marketplace. The drop down here, it allows you to switch between up to 67 different AI models. We have the most common featured models listed here. This is all customizable, so you can put whatever models you'd like here under featured. And then we even go as far as categorizing the different models based on the specific use case. So if you're looking to build something out with image generation, we let you know that these 10 models here have the best output for that specific task. So just trying to make it a bit more user-friendly.
Joe, can I ask you? I'm sorry.
Sure.
I told you I'm going to interrupt. I know
Yep.
me. Can I ask you to pop into one of those? And let's just, for example, pop into the one around image generation. I want folks to be able to see that even if you say, hey, I'm looking to do an image, I love that we have the attributes that give us additional information. It's still making a recommendation on a featured model for that specific type. So just wanted folks to be able to see how it pops over into the right panel. This was really important for me as I was coming up to speed on AI, that I didn't have to know one model from another. I don't know which one I like, but I know that you guys are making really good references there.
Absolutely. With 67 models built in, we want to try to help guide users in any way we can, right? So we're giving little clips there on where the benefits are for each model. And then, like JP said, we really just want you to get in there, play around with it, and find what works for you. But kind of touching on the curation of all of these different models and why it matters, right? Instead of paying $20 to $30 a month for four different subscriptions, your team will now have them all in one place. So if Claude is better at creative writing and GPT is better at logic, your team can toggle between them instantly and find the best model for the job. An example here, I have a prompt that I'm just going to kind of paste in just so that we can see what this looks like. So if you were to go into the chat, paste in a specific prompt here. Here I'm just saying we're launching a new cybersecurity awareness month for our clients. I want 5 subject lines for an email blast and a 200-word intro. You'll see here that this is taking a task that could usually sit on somebody's desk for 3 days or sit on their to-do list, and now we're finishing it in seconds. So this will give you exactly what you were asking for with very basic no code prompting, just natural language prompts, and it'll deliver it again in just seconds. But that's just where we get started is with the chat. And JP alluded to this as he was going through. The real power here, and one of the biggest complaints about standard AI is that it's stuck in a box. It only knows what it was trained on months ago, weeks ago. But in the Hatz platform, we break those walls down with our tools and our integrations. So to access the tools, you come here and we show a list of all the different built-in tools that we have, everything here from code execution down to Microsoft Learn. These don't require a license, but really the idea is that they're here to help optimize the output of your prompt. So an example here could be web search. If you asked a standard AI about a news event from this morning, it may have to go in and guess or even hallucinate. But with our web search tool enabled, the AI will actually go out, read current web information, and cite its sources. So this is really a research powerhouse built into this tool. I do want to highlight another tool here, and that's the Hatz Workshop Assistant. This is extremely powerful. When you're going to be getting started with the chat, you may become curious about what else the platform can do with you. And I'll go through the workshop here shortly and show you a little bit about apps, agents, and workflows. But this tool is going to be your best friend when getting started. You can add it to your prompt and then tell in the chat, prompt exactly what you want it to create, and it's like a magic wand. Depending on the complexity of the app, the agent, or the workflow, it'll then go in and create it or give you step-by-step instructions on how to do it in the platform. And Kim, I know you said you'd be interrupting me, but I do want to put you on the spot here a little bit. You had a great example of how you leveraged this to build, I believe, your alter ego agent.
I did.
So
I built an alter ego.
Great.
I did. I built an alter ego, and I used the application, the Hatz Workshop Assistant, to get started. So, and the reason why that was really easy, and I'm like, hey, listen, I know I want to have an agent that I can go to that really thinks like me, sounds like me, talks like me, knows what I do, knows what kind of outputs I like to see, but I don't really know how to get it going. And it was a little bit intimidating. So I went to that, and it set everything up. I gave it very little prompting, very, very little prompting, and it set it up for me, and it gave me a chance to go in and then start refining it. So I feel like I'm a champion, and I still feel, like I'm just getting started. So thank you for giving me a chance to share.
No, thanks, Kim. That's great. And again, I'll be touching on the apps, agents, and workflows here shortly. But after the tools, I'd like to talk a little bit about integrations. This is where it gets exciting for your business and some of the workflows that we'll be able to create. We can integrate tools that you already use, like Microsoft 365, Google Workspace, or any CRM that you're leveraging. So imagine asking the AI to summarize your last 3 emails from client X, or find project notes on my OneDrive. By connecting Hatz to your data silos, the AI becomes a specialist on your business, not just the general internet. So that's really going to be a key differentiator here, being able to leverage those tools and the integrations. So from here, I am going to navigate over to the workshop.
Not so fast, Joe. Not so fast.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kim.
I want you to go back to chat. We talked a little bit about those tools. I know we got to really dig into a couple of those tools, but one of the things I think is really powerful, kind of similar to when we were picking out which model we were going to use. I don't know what those tools are. I don't know which of those tools to pick. And so I love the icon that you have right there next to tool selection, where it's auto tool. And it says, look, based on your prompt, I'm going to pick that tool for you. And I told everyone that I was going to point out the cool stuff, and I didn't want to miss that.
Oh, spot on. Thank you, Kim. Things are getting constantly added to the platform. We've added memory, the auto tool feature. We develop very quickly here and effectively. So new things are popping on all the time. So there's going to be tons of fun, different tools added to the platform here. But thank you very much.
The other thing I wanted to talk about, which I think is really powerful here, Joe, is, and I think you'd mentioned it, but we talk about, I don't know which model to use. One of the things I really like is in a chat, if I go in and I ask for something and I've used Claude and I say, hey, just curious how ChatGPT would have responded to that. Would it look different? Would it give me a different feeling that feels more like what I'm looking for? I know it's really easy to do that inline toggle, so that you can kind of take it and split it up and have 2 different chats going on. So this is something that you're looking to say, I don't know which of the models is the best model for me. It's a great way to sample both.
Absolutely. You can go in and prompt Gemini and then do a split chat, prompt Claude on the same exact prompt, and it'll deliver side-by-side results so that you can compare them. So definitely an added benefit to having all of these curated into one. You can really find the tool that best suits. Thank you there, Kim. I appreciate that. So as I go in, I'll navigate over to the workshop here. And while chat is great for general questions, the workshop is where we're going to build more of these custom apps, agents, and workflows that are designed for one specific repeatable task or a sequence of tasks as we get into those workflows there. Here on our platform, it gives you the no-code advantage. So you really don't need to be a developer to build these. IP Consulting can provide guidance on building specific use cases. Your department leads can create them, or power users like Kim can come in and leverage what they learned during onboarding and become SMEs and really help build that AI IQ within the organization. So I always like to use like the HR bot example. So imagine you go in here, you build an agent that's fed only your company's handbook or insurance policies. So when an employee asks a question, what's our policy on jury duty? The bot can answer instantly using only your data. It won't give them a generic answer from the web. It gives them your answer. So instead of sending an email to HR and potentially waiting a day or so for the information, it's there in an instant. Another one is going in and creating like a sales or marketing bot. There you can build a bot that's been trained on your specific brand voice. So every time it writes a blog post or a proposal, it sounds exactly like your company's like top copywriter. So the benefit is this creates one-click productivity. Instead of writing a 500-word prompt every morning, your team goes up, opens up their marketing bot, and they get straight to work. So once we get everybody into the chat, leveraging it on a day-to-day basis, it's going to be important that we do come in here, and this is where we're going to be able to automate some of those more complex workflows for the business that are really going to help this become a differentiator. I also want to cover in here, we have a phone agent built into the platform. This is extremely straightforward. It's a number that gets established. You set the specific parameters, and it'll take inbound calls and triage them based on the parameters that you set. So whether it's taking calls for your business during off hours or high call volumes, or if you're leveraging it as a business tool to schedule meetings while you and the team are out in the field, there are plenty of different use cases. But I did want to point out that we do have this phone agent built into the platform. Really, the last thing I want to cover here with the group is management. So I want to navigate over to our admin portal and the dashboard. So for the leadership teams on the call, this is really the control center. This is going to give you much needed visibility so that you can see what departments are using AI the most, who your power users are, where's the most efficiency being gained. You can see JP on the call here is the top power user in our demo environment. But really, this is going to allow you to get involved from a leadership perspective to really help drive usage and adoption across your team. Within the org settings here, this is where you can control which models your teams have access to. If you don't want them to have access to all 67 models, you can lock them down. If you only want certain users to have access to the chat and not the workshop, it's all customizable here within the leadership dashboard here, and we can provide very strict guardrails around the organization to even further enhance the security of the platform.
Joe, it's not, your demo's not done. I still have questions.
Yeah, please fire away.
I'd like for you to go back to the workshop. I know we talked about bot a little bit, and I know that that's not terminology that we see in there. And I just want to, I'm real weird about jargon, so I want to make sure when we say bot, we really mean that's an application. Can you help us just at a really high level understand when we would use an application versus a workflow versus an agent?
Sure. So applications provide one output very well. So if you wanted to go in and create an app that would scrape a website and deliver use cases specific to AI, you can go in and prompt it to do exactly that. It'll deliver one output consistently. You can even schedule that out so it can send an email at a certain time based on feedback. There's a lot of different ways to leverage an app, but it provides one distinct output. A workflow normally is going to be a sequence of different applications that may cross different functions and have to be integrated into multiple platforms or multiple, I don't want to say applications in this sense, but applications within your business and your technology stack to provide efficiencies within the org. And then agents, that's where I may have been using the term bot, where it's just it's something that you can interact with to pull data from or to execute commands for you specifically. So those are the three different builds we have available in the workshop: apps, workflows, and agents.
The other thing I'd really like to have you share, Joe, is, it looks a little bit busy on your screen. I think this is another powerful piece that we might be skipping over, is the ability to share those applications and workflows and agents with people inside as well as outside our organization across the rest of the community. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So within the workshop section, you have shared items, and then there's also a community in here that's going through and building out all different types of apps, agents, and workflows. And then we even have them categorized here. So if you go in and you're looking for something specific to finance department or HR, you don't have to go back and reinvent the wheel. You can come here and look at what's already here in those templates and then copy them to your items or shared items where you and teammates can collaborate on them. But really here, and then even within your items that you have, you can create like a favorites. You can create favorites within here. So these are ones that I use daily. This one always pops out as I'm going through the demo. I had my nephew over the weekend, and he made a pizza rating app on here. Sorry, JP. I don't know if that's proper use of of the work tool. But there's just so many different applications. So you have your own workspace within your items, and then the ability to collaborate on builds with team members through this shared space as well.
Thank you for that. And I know that we talked about really kind of the user platform and the modifications that we can make there. We talked about the administrative platform. So if you're a leader, how you can kind of help guide and see everything that's going on, how people are using it. The one thing I want to make sure that we don't forget to touch on is the learning portal.
Absolutely. So this is the first thing most users will be doing when they get access to the platform, is accessing the learning portal here. Within the catalog, they'll be able to pull different trainings that are going to be assigned to them. We do always recommend that everyone starts off with this AI champion certification. This is really basic AI skills, should take anywhere between an hour and a half to 2 hours to complete. The goal is not to make anyone an AI expert day one, but it's about removing a little bit of fear, showing some practical examples, and just setting a very good baseline for that AI knowledge to grow. From there, you can move to the AI Navigator course. This one by design is meant to take about a month's time because it wants you to learn different applications within the platform and then go in and apply them for a period of time, come back and then just build on that. And then we also have quick skills here. These are great to sharpen your AI skills. They're videos anywhere from 3 to 10 minutes long that have a very specific focus within the platform that, again, will just help continue to raise that AI IQ, which will drive adoption within the organization, which will allow you to get the most out of this platform.
Joe, I might have needed the remedial for the champion session. It took me an hour and 43 minutes, but it's because I kept getting distracted. I kept having to go back and rewatch. But I like how it's segmented up into those smaller bite-sized segments. And I'll tell you, after an hour and 43 minutes, that's when I created my Kira, which is my alter ego agent. So it was worth the time investment for sure.
That's incredible. That's incredible. Thank you, Kim.
All right. I think that we've extracted everything out of your demo. Joe, thank you so much. Please don't hold it against me. All the interruptions and squeezing more information out of you. I want to make sure. I was incredibly intimidated by this platform when I first started. And once I kind of dug in, it was so much easier. You guys have done a great job of making it very user friendly. So I didn't want to miss any of that.
No, thank you for the time. I appreciate it, Kim.
All right, I'm going to switch back over to you, Milton. Milton, I'm looking forward to you telling us a little bit about the adoption journey. I know we put a lot of work into that. So I know this is the toughest part of the equation. Walk us through it.
Yeah, great demo, Joe, and great questions, Kim. Hopefully you guys can see the power of the platform. So let's talk about adoption. Like JP said, we're not going to hand you software and wish you luck. We walk this path with you. Our teams help adopt AI using our clear path methodology, and it's a crawl, walk, run. In the first 4 weeks, we get your whole team set up and trained. Slide decks kind of breaks down the phases of the specific outcomes, but the big picture here is that within 6 months, AI will be used weekly across your organization. We're with you the whole way through that process. So here's the slide everyone's been waiting for. Our pricing is based on monthly credits across 5 tiers. It starts at $225 for small teams. And then most land in the starter tier, but if you want single sign-on that's tied into like your domain, then you would be in the SMB tier. Every tier includes all models, unlimited users and training, and the workflow builder. Compare that to $25 per person per month for ChatGPT alone with no governance and no audit trail. The math speaks for itself. So deploying software is the easy part. Getting your organization to actually adopt it, that's where most people get stuck. That's why we built a 3-step process. First, we evaluate your AI risk, what tools are being used, what data is exposed, and where the gaps are. Then we build a roadmap tailored to your team and your industry. And then also deploy the platform and walk you through the adoption, targeting 80% of your team actively using AI within 60 days. We've been doing technology adoption for 20 years, and that's what we were built for. So hopefully we've built up enough excitement that you're ready to get started, because doing nothing isn't free. Every day your team waits, they're still uploading data into public AI tools. That exposure doesn't stop, it compounds. Your competitors aren't waiting either. 65% of companies adopted AI just last year, and they're already optimizing while others are still deciding. And the longer you wait, the wider the training and adoption gap gets. It's harder to catch up than to start. JP, I'd love your thoughts on this.
I think that's a really good point, that last one, Milton. You know, there's probably a good way to frame it. There's a risk of falling behind. And I think that's one of the key messages today. You know, there's definitely a sprint to just get started. And for most businesses, the ones that get started now, it helps, as we talked about, leverage AI across the organization. You get everybody up and running. But I think you touched on it there, Milton. The reality is every 70 days, they say, you know, on average, the capabilities around AI actually almost double, right? So it just means, and this has been a theme now for a couple of years. So where we start now, the sprint to get started is the main thing, because if you leave it until, let's say, September or the end of the year, the gap is dramatically wider, and it's more difficult for people to just get started and get up the learning curve, as Kim talked about as well earlier with the training. So the key is just to get started. I think there's another couple of trends maybe tied to this, and maybe for another webinar we can get into it in more detail. But one we're noticing is for most businesses that, for example, recruit new employees, there's an expectation now at an employee level that tools, AI tools, and even allocations of credits and tokens are there for them to do their job. And that's been a shift, right? Like that wasn't there so much last year or the year before. But as we build out our capabilities internally, we have to give the right tools to existing and new employees coming in. So there's a risk of probably not, capturing the talent if you're recruiting at the moment, for example, or you have a business that has a large turnaround. So I think it goes right across the spectrum there, Milton, and we probably want to keep a positive slant on it as well from our perspective, and we work very closely with IP Consulting on this. That we want to lean into those that are AI forward. So the message has been loud and clear that those that don't use AI today, there is a risk of falling behind, but we want to focus on the ones that are leaning in, and part of that is getting started here today. And we are all in this together, and part of the partnership that folks on this call have with IP Consulting can only be strengthened by their AI journey with them as well.
JP, you're talking about the people who are going to be using it in the future, but I mean, the high school and college kids are using it today, right? And that's the next generation of our workforce. And so making sure that they're going to be looking for those things. They're going to want to make sure that they have the tools that enable them, to be successful, to get them started. So I think that's a big cost of doing nothing. So Milton, I do want to turn it over to you because I know you're super excited about the next steps and an offer that you have for everyone.
Yeah, thanks JP for your feedback on that, and thanks Kim. So to make it easy to get started, we're offering a 60-day free platform evaluation. That's the full IP Navigate AI platform, no commitment, no risk. You'll have everything you need to see what governed AI looks like for your team. I'll tell you right now, this will not last long. Okay, I'm very appreciative that Hatz has decided to support us with this. You're going to receive a follow-up email after this webinar. Please respond within 48 hours to lock in the trial. You can also call us or send us an email. The contact information is right here on the slide. We genuinely would love to hear from you. And so if you'd like to explore everything we offer, here's a quick look at how to find the Navigate AI and our full suite of IT solutions right on our website. Just head on over to ipconsulting.inc.com and look under the IT solutions. You can take a look at all the different services that we offer, and we'd love to hear from you and love to work with you on your AI journey. Back to you, Kim.
Thanks, Milton. This is my favorite part of the webinar. So I've been collecting questions that have been coming in from attendees, and I, of course, have more than a few of my own. So if you have a question for Milton or JP or Joe or even myself, feel free to put that down in the chat. Again, that chat bubble in the lower right-hand corner, you can go to everyone or just directly to me. So let me go ahead and let's get started. Believe me when I tell you there's no question too basic. I ask lots of basic questions. You'll hear some of those as we go through. So Milton, what happens when we've already told employees not to use AI? Isn't that enough? You talk about security quite a bit.
No, banning AI is like banning Google in 2005. You're not going to be able to do it. So, with already so many organizations leveraging it, you could definitely have a policy in place, and that's just kind of holds for accountability, but it doesn't stop someone from being able to post information somewhere. So security needs to be something that, educating your users on why security is important, why the free tools shouldn't be putting any kind of private or sensitive information into free tools because of training. That should definitely be disseminated to your entire team so that they clearly understand what are the consequences of that. But a better option is to give them the tools they need so they can actually get their work done more productively.
I love that, doing it safely, just finding the safe way, and they'll follow the safe way.
Yeah.
All right, Milton, I got this next one. I think this one goes to you too, that how do I even know if my teams are using AI right now?
Well, I would say let's assume that they are, but if you want to kind of look a little closer, you can take a look at your firewall logs, and show up, because the free tools aren't necessarily going to show up. Every time you do a Google search, you have the option to press the Gemini option that'll kind of do some AI, do their AI search, right? We also can, do a risk assessment and take a look at your firewall logs and, try to help you do a better job of, at least understanding what's actually happening in your environment. So, we've got a couple different options there to assist.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And, one of the things that we're running into is I think a lot of times leaders, they just don't know, where it's being used. And now AI is getting integrated into so many tools that we're using every day. So it's not a matter of, can I tell if you went out to ChatGPT, or can I tell if you went here or there? It's integrated. And so you hope that it's integrated into your business professional tools and not your personal fun tools. So I think that's one piece. But this next one, I think it hits really close to home, and I can feel this. Is there really that big of a risk for smaller companies? Believe me when I tell you we're not Samsung.
For sure. The issue that we run into is that we're held liable regardless of we're big or small, right? And so if you've got any regulations that you have, or if you're thinking, well, my insurance company will cover that, more and more of the carriers are requiring that you have a certain amount of security put in place and policies in place in order for them to even consider a claim. So a risk for a small business is just as big as it is for, a large business, because it's not just, okay, we don't develop code, but you have customer data, you've got customer information, files, personal information that could easily be leaked, very easily by just posting, something or trying to do a search or trying to organize or summarize some information. So that's, why you've got to be careful, be it you large or small.
Milton, I would even go as far as to challenge you to say I think it's a bigger risk for the smaller organizations. And you think about a Samsung, Samsung has the financial resources to pay for an incident, right? Where that same, call it $250,000, I think was the number that you used earlier, that's a big number. That's a lot of sales you have to go out and get in order to, fulfill a $250,000 incident, where Samsung certainly has more resources. But Milton, I feel like I've put you on the hot seat for a while. I'm going to switch over.
Right.
JP, I've got some questions I think you would probably be best suited to answer. JP or Joe, either one of you. But, someone recognized here that there's a credit system, and they want to know, how does that credit system work? And one of the coolest things is I'd love for you to make sure that you're sharing with them what happens when they run out of credits.
Yeah, and look, as Milton walked through, there's lots of different options for any of the folks that sign up. What we do is within each of those options, we allocate what, as you just talked about, Kim, are credits. And they're an allocation within each of those packages. But the great news is it's all very predictable pricing. There's no overages. So we've allocated for each package what might make sense depending on the customer size. Your team will begin using it. We've found that often it's underutilization of credits really came in the short term, because as people begin adopting it, it takes a little bit of time. But let's assume, for example, your team are using it, and at the end of the month, they get to their allocation. It simply gets what's called rate limited, very common in all AI, where people can still begin using it, but the rate limiting means some of the premium models get disabled for a period of time. And on that note, I think it's important to also probably point out, as we think about credit and usage and models, in fact, the cost of intelligence has really gone down to zero. Like it's some of these, I would say 80% of the models out there that are in the platform are really low in terms of credit usage. So, it's negligible almost for some of the tasks. But there are others that might use up bandwidth a little bit more, because they're so good to keep going through what's called recursive loops, and it can be very, very good for some tasks. So what IP Consulting do a great job is obviously giving access to all of these, but you can limit some of them if needed, right down to it within your organization. So I hope that gives a good indication, Kim. I think one of the key things for anyone thinking to get started is just get started. You don't worry so much about the credits in the short term, because it doesn't tend to be a problem. And what you'll find 3-4 months into your journey, you'll have visibility from IP Consulting on the usage in your organization, and it probably gives you a lot of insight around your power users. So I know, Kim, you're a power user in IP Consulting. I think that's important to call out. But they're the type of people that are really great to help others. So if you're a 50-person law firm, or just made that up, but any particular organization, you'll have 3 or 4 power users, and they're the gold in your organization. They're the people that will help others drive more use cases and get more ROI out of any AI platform.
It's funny that you say that, JP. You're on point. So I made the mistake of bragging to Milton that I had created, Kira, my alter ego agent, And I think he told everyone in our organization. And so everyone's coming in there saying, hey, Kim, can you show me how you did that? Can, you know, and so I've walked people through how to do it because they're like, oh, I didn't realize it was that easy. And so I think that there's a lot of power in that. And I'm so excited about it. I want to share it.
Yeah, and what are they doing now, Kim? Right, they're using it themselves. They got over the little hump. It's called the jagged edge of AI. So some people will log in and then they'll do something, go back to their normal. Others will embrace it, but over time, everybody will get to you know, over that hump and over the jagged edge of AI. And some need more help than others, and that's okay.
Or JP, maybe they're just using Kira. Maybe, you know, everyone is using Kim's alter ego, which I don't think is the best plan, but I like the idea of that. So one of the things I want to kind of go back to the original question to make sure that we're answering that fully is that while I think the credits are important for making sure that you're giving access to the right tools based on the size of your organization, one of the important factors is, you know, if you get people out there and they're creating things, workflows and agents and applications, it's not like we're going to be like, well, you've used them all up and we're going to turn you off. It is going to rate limit you, but you're still going to have the use of some of those less expensive models until you get refreshed for the next month. And I think that's really powerful because you don't want to have, you know, stops and starts along that adoption journey. Yeah. So that makes it really good.
And also, Kim, I would add that you can upgrade at any time. So let's say you hit in the middle of the month and you're like, you know what, we're on that ramp. We need to add more credits. That's easy. That's really easily done. So
that's true too. I know that Milton, you've been upgrading, and listen, that's not my fault. I promise, it's not at least not exclusively my fault. But
no, the whole team is using it. So yes, after going through training, we saw
huge spike, yeah, from utilization. I know that we've been sharing things in our communities, in our internal community, so that's really nice. JP, I've got another question here that I think might be best suited to you, although Milton, please do chime in. And it's, I had mentioned it earlier about the data security being SOC 2 and SOC 3 certified, but also asking, where does that data go?
Oh, good question. Easy one to answer. As you say, we're SOC 2 Type 2 certified and all of that. But at a very high level, if you use any of these platforms, and there are nearly 70 now out there yourself, you're obviously using it in their own third-party instance. So it could be Gemini with the Google Suite or ChatGPT. But we do with IP Consulting and in Hatz, we curate them all in our own secure instance. So the information never goes outside the tenant, and that's localized right down to individual level and organizational level. So there's lots of information on that if somebody would like to, you know, read up a little bit more on it. But at a very, very basic level, that's what happened, Kim, and getting that into one secure platform allows your company to put information in. No training, which is one of the problems. If you put it into there's a risk of that being trained, and Milton just went over a use case on that. So that's the key thing, and no retention of that information. So that's it on high level, and yeah, like we're delighted to. That's the first problem that we resolve for every business.
Milton, anything that you want to add? If not, I've got the next question I'm throwing your way.
Nope, you can go ahead and throw that
question. All right, the next question is the trial sounds great, but how long does it actually take to get up and running?
I'll get you turned on very quickly, Kim. I know that you've been working on the package, so you may want to talk a little bit about that. But I mean, we'll get you turned on, and within within a week, you'll have access to the platform and all that. But I know we're kind of doing it in sections, so you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. I was just going to say, I mean, this isn't something that's going to take, you get a 60-day trial because it's going to take a month to get you going. It's pretty quick. So I know that we've got some paperwork that we'll have to do. Once you do the paperwork, we turn on the trial pretty quickly. I'll say that you'll be up and running within a week. Now, I know that, Milton, I almost interrupted you earlier. You were saying, that 6-month adoption plan. That 6-month adoption plan really can kind of expand and contract based on the energy of your organization around AI.
Yep.
And so if your organization is hungry for it, or if they're already using it, they already have some ideation on use cases, it's going to go a lot faster. But I would tell you that it didn't take long, and I wasn't kidding earlier when I said I went through an hour and 43-minute champions course that's right there on the platform, and I got out of there and I started immediately creating things. Now, I will say I was already using ChatGPT. I was already using Copilot. I'm not lying when I say that it was hard for me to give up my GPT, only because I'd already built so much in there. And we were using an enterprise account for that. But having the ability to switch between the different models, and that was something that we talked about during the demo, and Joe, I probably should have had you show it, but it was so easy to say, what is GPT giving me versus what is Gemini giving me? And I found that, there are things I really like GPT for. There were things I didn't. And so having that access, I think, was really helpful. But that was quickly.
Yeah, and I would say, I mean, the reason that you want to pay for a model is to avoid the training side of it, right? So if you're using any of the free models, they're training on your data. So that's why, prior to finding the Hatz platform, we would, buy licenses, the business licenses, so that the data was not being trained on. It's so important to make sure that when you're looking at and comparing platforms that you understand. Free is not free. Free means you're literally being used to generate revenue. So be careful.
Kim, I do want to just add to your point, also being, you said you were leveraging GPT prior to moving to Hatz. We do have the ability now to bring in your history from GPT into our platform so that you have all of that prompt history from your chat in your instance in Hatz, so that it can continue to learn off of that data.
Oh, that's awesome.
Joe, that's new news to me. I'm excited for that. Like you and I, let's offline, let's get together, let's integrate all, and I can be done completely off my GPT.
I think it just came out with the last Friday's release, so it is fresh.
I don't feel too far behind then.
No, not at all.
All right. I know we only have a few more minutes here. Anything else? Any final thoughts that any of you would like to share?
I would just say, take advantage of the, this evaluation. I think is amazing, and I would hope that everyone takes the opportunity to try it out. You won't regret it.
Definitely echo those sentiments, Kim. Just want to say, obviously, on behalf of the Hatz team, delighted to be part of this. Kim and Milton, it's a real pleasure. Thanks for the opportunity. And as Milton said, you just move forward. Just move forward.
I love that, the moving forward. Gentlemen, thank you for taking the time to sit in the hot seat, answer the questions. Joe, thank you for the great demo and allowing me to interrupt you. And then the landscape of kind of, what's going on right now in AI. I'd also like to thank all of our attendees today. I know that this is an hour out of your day and you're very busy, so thank you for taking the time. I hope this was valuable for you. I know that it was mentioned before, but as a reminder, the team's going to be following up with you with an ebook that also includes a readiness checklist around AI. And then, of course, I know that we've talked a lot about that two-month free trial that Milton spoke about earlier. There's a couple of different ways to take advantage of it. You can absolutely go to our website. You can call us. You can send us an email. I'm personally going to be reaching out to each and every one of you. So if you'd like to just respond to me, I'm happy to help you get that going. Right now, we know that you have nothing to lose. You have only clarity to gain. So thank you, everyone. Let's go from shadow AI to secure AI. Have a great rest of your day.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone.